Hey folks, we're live and I'm in the airport in Vienna. We're on our 4-hour layover from Yerevan to Washington, D.C., and we're on our way home. You can tell I'm a little hoarse. It's been a long week, a couple of weeks really, but very successful, very good. We've had some just incredible adventures and gotten some amazing footage. If you've been following the Facebook or the Telegram feeds, if you haven't, you should be. We've been putting up some amazing photographs and videos and stuff for you there. We started out, two of the coolest things that we did on this trip had nothing to do with the scenery or the history or the culture or anything like that. It had to do with what? Are we good?
Yeah, just making sure it's picking up.
Marky's acting like my microphone's not working. Had to do with some of the people that we got to help. So we first found a family that their primary breadwinner was a young man who went off to war in this current conflict with in the Nagorno-Karabakh between Armenia and Azerbaijan. He was wounded and as such has been unable to work. That means that they're unable to make even the little bit of money that they were making to make their mortgage payment, and they were about to lose their house. They had been falling behind on their payments. The bank had actually put their house up for sale, and they were in a bad way. So as many families in Armenia are, they live together with their extended family, grandpa, grandma, the husband, wife, some kids, maybe some cousins or uncles or something. And they lived in the house that was built by their grandparents back in the 70s. So it would really been a tragedy to lose this house to the bank, especially over just a small loan that they had taken out to get their business started, which was greenhouses. We came in and heard their story, and the 16 people that we had on this trip felt moved to do something to make a difference in that family's life. And so we gathered up the funds, and we didn't just give them a little bit of money to get some groceries or a few meals. We actually paid off their mortgage. And I tell you what, having paid off a mortgage or two in my time, there's no feeling more liberating for a family, for a husband, for a breadwinner, when you get that biggest bill paid off and you no longer have that. It's just an amazing feeling. And they were just blown away by the generosity of this group. We then went and spent the rest, almost all the rest of our time visiting historical sites, visiting, monasteries and churches and the beautiful natural vistas and things like that. Got some unbelievable footage, which I'll be putting up over the next week or so, and really enjoyable time together. Everything just miraculously went off without a hitch. We didn't lose anybody, we didn't kill anybody, we didn't get any car wreck or anything like that. We did a lot of traveling around and saw all corners of Armenia. It's such a small country, but it's so diverse, and you can see almost the entire country on a day trip from Yerevan. There were only 2 times that we had to go overnight somewhere, and even then it was definitely worth it just to get to spend time with locals and do like a homestay. Really fun, excellent time. We, at the last day, yesterday, we took another short road trip out of Yerevan out to a village that probably has not seen an American tourist ever in history. I mean, it's just not a place a tourist would go. But we went out there and met with a family that in the States we would call a Gold Star family. They were a family who had lost their son in the war. He was in his early 30s, had a wife. He had one son who's 6 years old, a wife who was pregnant when he left for war. This is a guy who had been a soldier before. Every Armenian male is required to serve, compulsory service, for 2 years between 18 and 20 years old. But then he got out, and then when the war started, they drafted him back into the military. So he went back, and 3 days later, he was killed in a battle in Hadrut. And we're told that he was killed in the act of saving his commander's life. His commander survived, he did not. And this guy was, again, the only breadwinner for his family. He was apparently just a really loving, caring guy, and of course, an amazing story when you hear his story about wanting to go and fight, even though his family begged him not to. But he said, "No, it's my duty. I got to do it." And so he went off to fight and was killed. So with that in mind, that family was in a similar situation where they had a small mortgage on their house that they had taken out to take care of some things business-wise. There was no way they could repay it. They would have lost their house. And this great group of 16 people pooled their resources and paid off their mortgage. Man, what a great feeling. It was a very emotional time, an emotionally draining time, because it's very sad to go and hear about the tragedy of a family losing their only son, and of a wife losing her husband shortly before giving birth to their baby daughter. We got to hold that little baby, we got to pray with them, we got to cry with them, and we got to listen to the grandfather play a very sad song on his duduk, which is the traditional Armenian instrument. It's a very haunting song, and I'm going to post it on Telegram and here on YouTube as well as a bonus. It is powerful, powerful. The most powerful thing about it was that while he was playing, the wife was back in the background behind him, just distraught over the loss of her son. It was really incredible. So in all, it was a very good trip. Everybody says they'd like to do it again sometime. We'll probably try to run another one of these. So if you're interested in coming along and experiencing Armenia, you should come with us. We'll probably go again in the fall, October's time frame, something like that. And also we'll be working on our documentary coming up pretty soon. We're going to start post-production as soon as we get back, and hopefully in a few months we'll have that finished product out, and we'll have that available to you. It's been a real joy getting to know Armenia and its people, its culture, its food, its history. And I think that especially for American Christians, if they knew more about Armenia, if they understood how much we have in common with that country as the brothers and sisters in Christ, that we would be every bit as desirous of visiting Armenia as many people are to visit Jerusalem. It's kind of the birthplace of evangelical Christianity. The Armenian Apostolic Church is an Orthodox, old, very, very ancient, one of the first sort of Protestant churches, because they split off from the Catholic sort of sect at that time, back in the 300s. And it's been just a really educational, powerful time, and be on the lookout for a bunch more footage coming up soon. So thanks for watching. We'll be back to kind of our regular schedule of Hot Zones next week. In the meantime, have a good weekend, and thanks for being viewers of the Hot Zone. By the way, if you've been watching Masako Ganaha, she has been amazing on this trip. Everybody on this trip fell in love with her, as I knew they would. And it sounds like she's going to be joining us back in Panama to do some more reporting on the immigration crisis, people coming through the Darien Gap down there. So stay tuned. I'm Chuck Holton. Thanks for watching Hot Zone.